At times, we all feel lost and in search of something more. This is Cristina Dam, and this is Liberate the podcast, a podcast designed to help inspire and guide you forward through everything spirituality, creativity, art, and just giving you a sense of empowerment so that you can be powerful, be magical, and be free. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Liberate the podcast. Today, we are welcoming one of our very own practitioners, Carroll Snow, with us. Now, she is a Reiki healer as well as an intuitive and a reader with us. And today's topic is we're really going to be talking about how, the collective and so much in society, people are stressed out more than ever. The anxiety level is through the roof. And kind of about that whole dynamic that is going on and how energy healing can really help assist people in this time of need. So thank you so much for joining us, Carroll.
Oh, welcome. You're so welcome. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
So Carroll, I always like to start off with kind of figuring out a little bit of how you got here. Before we dive into this topic, I just want to know, why Reiki? Where did that what was that, type of, path to get there?
Oh, okay.
Because I find it fascinating. A lot of people, they have so many different backstories for, what led them into spirituality and then what led them into, understanding their gifts. So let's start out with first, asking, was these gifts that you have something that you've always noticed, even when you were a child, or did they come later in life? Can you share a little bit about your story and your journey?
Oh, sure. I love to talk about this part. I think I was a lot like some people I've met in the spiritual world. In my family, we talked about people having ESP and being able to think about things that were kind of lofty, but we didn't take it seriously. My mom knew, I know my mom knew that I could sense things and I knew when things were going to happen and I would tell her. But she was like many parents during my getting raised. They just said, oh, don't talk about that. Nobody's going to want to hear it. They won't believe you. Just be quiet. So that's a sad thing, to hear when you're so excited.
But it's also, that's sad to hear that and that was suppressed from you sharing and excited about talking about it. But it's amazing that in your family, that wasn't shunned and that was actually acknowledged. Right. I think that's a big step.
It was huge because I didn't get so many, you're right. When I tell this in another world, but around 5, 6, or 7, I woke up one morning and I was just I'm an early riser since I was little. And so I would watch the sun come up and it was a really spiritual time for me, although I didn't know that. So I was listening one morning just to the birds and stuff. And all of a sudden I heard, I can't believe we get to be here. And Christine, I knew it wasn't me. I knew in my head, it was like, who is that? Who is that? So since I was little, I had a sense of something much bigger than me.
So what do you think that was?
Well, I think it was my spirit. She does that all the time.
Okay.
I've gotten so used to it now. But when I was little, it took me a minute. It really did.
So you could hear your spirit communicating with you. And even when you were a little girl.
Even when I was little. Yeah.
And so then, I'm guessing, like many people, that either became fearful or you put it away for a little bit of time.
When I was getting towards middle school, and then we went beyond, I started doing a lot of things. And my friend would often, she liked, I don't know what you call that, showing off. She liked me to show off with it. So, but she would say, ask her what time it is. So someone would say, Carroll, what time is it? And I would say, oh, it's 8:15. And they'd look at their watch and they go, oh, how'd you do that? How'd you know it was 8:15? So then we did that stuff, little stuff.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, it felt funny. You know, as you get to be a teenager, everything feels funny. You get psychotic and you have to wait for a whole bunch of hormone changes. And and then you just have to wait.
Saying it just like it is, right? You know?
So you have to wait a minute. And then in my 20s, I started noticing it again.
Okay.
And I got my undergrad and I was becoming a social worker. And then I remembered praying, like, I've never said like prayers, just, you know, my spirit inside of me, this isn't going well. Like, please help me with this client. And it's always worked. It's always worked. So I have a huge, strong belief. I think what's most important is for me to just be honest and not be afraid, like when I was little, to bring it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when did you find Reiki?
Well, when I was little, I used to pretend I was a fairy.
Okay.
And so I would just pretend, and I would come. I do exactly what I do now when I'm doing Reiki, only I didn't know it.
Okay.
And so my mom would be upset, and I go, you know, just relax, Mom, just relax. And she'd go, okay, whatever. And so I could feel the heat.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, somewhere along the line, someone showed me how you can, when I did Tai Chi, you could go like that and feel the heat. And I said, well, that's our energy.
Yeah.
And then I said, that's how, you know, I make people feel better. So it was a process of learning what I was doing without really knowing it.
Oh, wow. But it's been like this whole lifetime.
My whole lifetime, yeah.
Interesting. And then like getting into where you see the world right now. Like what do you see as like, you know, I mean, everybody's different, but yet I feel like there's like a huge theme that is consistent among people. And what do you see that theme, and what would you kind of like say that you see most people like kind of struggling with now?
It's most apparent to me in the, you know, when I'm doing Reiki with people, because they're coming in very, very different, like you said, you know, very individual, very unique. And yet we have some really common ground that I find every time I do Reiki. So with the stress level, I've been in the healing business since my 20s, really. My degrees are in health and wellness and all of that. And so I've always been really focused on what happens to people when they get too stressed. And it's just really incredible. Right now, people they're still not feeling very well. And so they come in and their anger and fear is just huge with everyone. Mostly the fear is what's really common. So I get to work in the third chakra a lot, and sometimes the second, to reestablish connection. I think it's a lot of things. The computer, we drink a lot of coffee, which scares us to death after a while, and we don't even know it. So finding calming ways, the Reiki works as soon as you apply it. Like, the body responds so gratefully.
Would you say that's one of the biggest benefits of Reiki, is that Reiki
calming
and
the
energy?
central nervous system over and over and over.
So people have this stressed out, overactive central nervous system, whether induced by caffeine or aggravated by stress, or, you know, and
fear
now
levels
fear, right? And that's one of the things I think has been so rampant. It's like a fear bomb has exploded in the world since the start of 2020. It's like, it's fear after one thing, uncertainty, confusion, more like upset, fear, attack,
and then we do, you know, we put more in. We're so frightened anyway. There's got to be a substance that will help us calm down.
Yeah.
And what I'm also finding is going into the nature will do almost the same thing as Reiki for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when somebody comes in and they work with you, like, they're coming in and they're either stressed out or not thinking right? And they go on the table. Like, what do they expect when they walk out?
Every time, it's one common thing that I get to experience. I get to experience this, and it's, just me going, oh, I think I
Be
did a
careful
good...
on your chest there because of the mic.
Oh, okay.
It's probably doing some booms. Sorry, guys.
I bet, sorry.
So it's what did you get to do they experience?
They come and they're like really pointy. I'm not sure how else to explain it. Some people are just really pointy, and I can tell that they just need softening for a minute. Mm-hmm. So when they're leaving, they come and they're not smiling. They're really stressed. I don't know if this will work, or this has worked for me in the past, but it's so bad today.
Yeah.
They're in such a frightened space many times. Not everybody, but a lot of times. So by the end of the Reiki, and then we do some cards usually as well,
Okay.
so that we can kind of look into the future and calm that sense of the fear of the unknown.
Okay.
I think anytime you can do that, we get centered again.
Okay.
So by the time they're leaving, I can tell if I've done a good job, because they're soft again, and they're smiling, and I can breathe again.
Yeah.
And then I know, I did, yeah, that's what it does.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And without divulging any type of client personal information, right? Can you share a couple stories of specifics? No names, no information on a client,
for sure.
but maybe some of the things, because I also know that it's best when you work on sessions, a few of them, right? You don't go to a chiropractor and expect that your posture is automatically fixed 100% after one session. I think, even though that a lot of us in the spiritual world, we are making and moving miracles and tapping into energy. It's also there's a process where if we're so out of alignment, you're out of alignment for a little bit, you go back into alignment. It's like you have to slowly go back. It's like when you get an adjustment, if your spine's all crooked, you get an adjustment, it's going to go back, you get an adjustment, it goes, and then eventually those chiropractors can work out even really hard scoliosis and other things, right? But it's through a process of session after session, little bit at a time. Now, sometimes it's going to be miracles happen in one session too. Can you share a couple?
Oh, for sure. I just had a woman who, she was one, I hadn't had a pointy one, but she was very pointy and she really frightened. And I did a little backward, I did a little bit of pedaling backward. So we read a little bit just to calm her down a little bit. And during the course of the Reiki, I could tell that there was a lot going on in here. Uh-huh. So I did what I knew with this particular issue is if I had my druthers and they were allowing it, would be to have them come 3 times.
Okay.
It would take 3 sessions to really get all of the energy centers. What I see when I'm looking is, it's like when all the lights come on and the internet is working.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, really, inside of us. So it takes, I begin that process. So I did that with her. I don't know if she'll come back. So I tried, to calm and do the things I could. While I was explaining, it's really important if we could finish this in 2 or 3 sessions. Mm-hmm. So by the time she left, she could respond again because the lights were coming on. And she said, oh my God, I didn't even realize how shut down I was. Because you don't. No. You really don't get it until somebody turns the lights back on.
You enjoying this so far? Did you forget to subscribe? Make sure to do so. It takes 2 seconds. Just press that little button. The red one, the one. Just press it, little like. All right, enjoy the rest of this content. For those that are listening, think about it in a way of sometimes when you I don't know, maybe you're so tense and then you get a massage and you didn't realize how tense you were until you felt the state of relaxation.
Exactly.
Sometimes we're so physically exhausted that we are going on burning fumes, and until we get a good night's sleep or a good rest, we don't realize how exhausted we really were.
Exactly.
Or this is one that I think everybody can relate to. You're going through the day and you kind of turned off your hunger switch, so you're not even noticing, and then you take your first bite of food in a long time and you realize, oh my God, I'm super
so
hungry. And it's so it's like the same as like we train our bodies and our minds and our energy centers to adapt. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I don't think humans are the smartest. I don't think we're the fastest. We're definitely not the strongest. But what we are as a species is we are what I believe is the most adaptable. And that's why you see people that live in the most tropical climates and the most cold Arctic areas that, from the heat to the cold and everything in between, from big cities to rural, from all different types of work and environments and everything. We can adapt, we can adapt, we can adapt. And I mean, sometimes we don't think we can, and we put ourselves in these blocks, but given it under pressure, people can do miraculous things. So part of it is our survival mechanisms. Part of it is, but it doesn't mean that it's good if you're running around and just because you're making it through the day doesn't mean that you're not burnt out. Doesn't mean that you're not out of alignment. It just means that you've compensated.
Exactly. Yeah. And then your body can only compensate for so long. And then it's exhausted.
And then that's where other things happen, right?
Oh, that's when the disease starts. And I know we talk about that, but we don't, it's all about learning to take good care of ourselves again.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if we've forgotten how to do that or...
I think we have to a certain... It's a very interesting time that we're in because at our fingertips, you're now at a point where so much is available to take care of yourself. I mean, you can listen to free content like this.
Right.
You can share this content with anybody that you want. We have so many, like just us personally. We have, 200 episodes on the podcast. We have all of these videos on YouTube. We have all of these meditations, free sources. You can, for a few dollars subscription, you can have access to unlimited yoga or Tai Chi or other things.
That's so true.
You have books that you can check out in the library for free about anything. I mean, but what I'm saying about this is the amount of resources that for low cost or free that is available, whether on these platforms like YouTube or other different networks or different places, you have so much that it's never been easier to take care of yourself. But in the same paradox, it's never been harder because resources and all of this stuff aren't no longer a limit, the availability, the accessibility, the resources to be able to do it are there. Right? However, how many people actually do it?
No, they don't. Well, they start. I mean, I've got tons of friends who are, I'm starting my, my aerobics thing again this week. And by the end of the week, they're exhausted again. And so we have to let it go.
But what I'm thinking that you're saying, and then to reiterate this, is that if, we look at so much on our physical body or that exhaustion, I must be just too exhausted for it. But that to me is that the energy body isn't breathing, or like the internet example that you said, it's not all lit up. So how can it take in or absorb or interact with this environment if you're out of alignment? So maybe that person that started the workout of the aerobics, if they actually got a energy healing first, they might be able to move the energy and absorb the energy in their body to continue so they're not so exhausted with the aerobics. Is that what you're saying?
It really is, because when, it's like anything, you're so tired that we have a tendency to be really gung-ho, so they go and run 3 miles. Well, they're exhausted again because their body needs time to build up. It needs better food again. Mm-hmm. It needs more water all day long. And then you go run a mile, run a half a mile, and then build up to that again.
Yeah.
Because we've forgotten. The only thing I was thinking about is, during the COVID, we had to isolate and become by ourselves. And I really think it took a toll on our mental health. I just see people in my Reiki that what's going on mostly is they're still in that COVID mode and they're not used to being with other people yet.
Yeah.
And so the opportunity here with classes, with Reiki, with readings is to be with another person in a one-on-one, which actually helps reset and realign when we're together.
Yeah.
When
It's
we're-
so powerful.
It's huge. So when we're isolated and by ourselves, we shut down. We just shut down.
Yeah, and the importance of being with somebody else that uplifts you and can give you energy
Exactly.
and positivity, because that's the other thing. Because of the collective being so stressed and people being so, kind of like toxic right now, right?
Yeah, a little
like,
bit.
And
Little
isolated,
bit.
you go and you see a friend or somebody that you haven't seen in a while, and they want to talk and complain about the state of the world or the current politics or something else.
Endlessly.
And or venting about their problems or their things. And yes, there needs to be a place for that, but if this is your first interaction with being social with somebody and then you're walking away and you're getting more drained, you're not getting uplifted from that loving type of energy and nurturing connection of what community brings, laughter, fun, connection outside of like healing work. But that can be something that's a great kind of substitute for that. If you're not having that, is come and connect with somebody that's going to support you, see you through, move you forward, and help revitalize you.
Exactly, because I think the YouTube and all of it is fantastic, to be able to go home and utilize that setting. But it also is why people aren't staying with it.
Yeah.
I really think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Carroll, do you have another, so you shared one story. Do you have a story that you could share with about maybe seeing somebody and working with them for a couple sessions and then maybe running into them later on and what changes or shifts happened in their life?
I have one. I still don't know yet, but
whatever comes to you. I mean, maybe we sometimes that's the interesting thing about the work, is we set them off into the world,
and you don't
then
always
you
get to know
what happens.
Yeah.
But if you could share with somebody.
I do have one. In fact, she just came a couple weeks ago. A young woman, and I feel connection right away, and I think it's part of my gift, and so people kind of calm down. So when they come and they spend time with me, things pop in their head that they need to talk about. So this young woman came, and she was having to make some really difficult life decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And so we worked together. The first time we did some Reiki, and then we did cards. And then she came back a couple weeks later. And I can also see the progression of things, so it's kind of like cheating on my part, because I can see how she had worked through this one issue and how she was doing it, so I already had a sense of how it was going to go later.
Yeah.
So we talked about it, and I pulled that thread so that she could see it. It's not going to do any good for me to see it if you don't get the aha.
Yeah.
So my part is
and
to
that
hold
comes
the
from your
space.
social work therapy training,
right.
like one of the biggest thing, and that's one of the beautiful gifts of working with you, is that you have that conventional like understanding and that deeper education about, hey, you got to give the client their aha.
They really, that's where all the fun stuff comes. So she got through that, and she said, well, I'll come see you pretty soon. Well, she came a couple weeks ago because of the decisions she had made. And I was so excited. Cristina was so excited because she really had worked through it. And I think it was the togetherness that allowed her to do some of it. So she made this huge decision. She's off and moving to DC. In fact, I think she left just a few days ago.
Amazing.
And it was one of the few times I've actually gotten to see the three parts of how it came. It was just fascinating. I sent her away with tears. It was really
beautiful.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was yummy, really yummy. Yeah.
So Carroll, if there's we kind of come into a wrap on today's podcast. We're getting to know, you, the beautiful work that you do. But if there's something that you'd like to share with our viewers, what would it be? Anything that pops in your
Part
mind.
of what I was telling another practitioner, this getting to be here at Liberate, and I don't want to toot our horn, but I do, part of what's been healing for me is to come to work here. For real. I mean, I'm serious. I've had some pretty harsh settings to work out of, and this is like working in fairyland. I mean, it's like, I can't even tell you. I have all the most amazing energy available to me. I have rooms that are beautiful. I have people who are just happy to see me every day. That has not always been the case, Cristina.
Aww.
And so I just want to say that I so am grateful. I feel safe here. That's what I was telling her. And that's not an easy commodity to come by. We don't feel safe in our world, but I feel safe when I'm here.
And you can provide that safety for your clients.
Right. And so that's what I pass on every time. But it's allowing me to do that.
Beautiful.
I guess that's the thread, yeah.
Thank you, Carroll.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
And for those that are listening, you can find and book a session with Carroll on her website. She's available at both of our Los Feliz locations and our Sherman Oaks locations. She does in-person only right now, some remote when she's at the space. But she's available to help serve you and see how we can move you forward out of the stressful, anxiety, fearful environment that some of us have found ourselves swimming in lately. So, we don't have to be stuck in that pool. We can go over to the other pool, the one that's light and open and expansion and seeing the possibilities for the future that are ahead. But thank you so much for joining us. And please, if you're listening to this, do us a solid, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. But if you're listening on an audio platform, can you please go and check out our YouTube. We're trying to really build our YouTube up a little bit so people can also see the content that we're creating and have a more personal experience by connecting to us visually as well as audio. Thank you so much. And until next time, namaste.
Namaste.
Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you want to hear more about what we have going on and happening online or in the neighborhood, check out liberateyourself.com and sign up for our mailing list. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Liberate Yourself. It's YouRself, URSELF. Until next time, be powerful, be magical, and be free.